In my last post, I spoke a little bit about smudging, and I want to continue in that vein. I want to say some more about smudging, certainly some of the practical aspects of it, and then I want to talk about smudging and using smudging to create sacred space and what sacred space really is. So I'm going to start by first getting a smudge bowl, as you can see here. This is an abalone shell. And I'm going to put some uh, ground up sage. This is common sage, which I usually pick every summer in the desert. So I'm going to put a pinch of this common sage into the bowl. And then I'm going to essentially light it up with a match, blow on it until it's smoldering. I think I mentioned last time that some people use the well known smudge sticks, but I really prefer to use ground up sage in a bowl. What I've found with the smudge sticks is, first of all, it's really hard to get them lit. And I've been in many circles where every time the smudge stick is passed from one person to another, the next person has to light it all over again. And also, it has, in some ways, the opposite problem. Oftentimes, if you finally do provide enough fire to get that smudge stick really going, then it's almost impossible to put out unless you grind the end into something and kind of crush and destroy it. So I'm going to start by lighting the sage here. So I've got a match. God, I have to hold this up pretty high, don't I? And I'm applying it to the sage. Right now, I can, as the flame moves up the side of the sage, which I've kind of pushed like into a little hill, certain parts of the sage are starting to glow. So now I'm going to blow on it until it gets going well. So that's all I really need to do. And let me see if I can turn this towards the camera and whoops, move it that way. As you can see, yeah, it's smoldering. And this will keep smoldering until pretty much all of that sage is burned, which is probably going to be something like 10 or 15 minutes. Generally, I burn sage each morning in terms of my own practice. And I also use it in various workshops and vision quests that I lead. If I were on a vision quest program, every morning we'd break out the sage in the group, and I'd light up the sage and blow on it like I just did, and then I would wave the smoke over myself and around, and then say a prayer or an invocation to start the day. Then I would pass the bowl to my left, which is called Sunwise, and the bowl would travel around until everyone had smudged and invoked the energy of sacred space. So I do that at the start of each day that I'm leading a vision quest. In this men's program, I'm doing now the Mythic Warrior, which is 8 weekends, one a month. When we arrive on Friday night, we smudge and we pass the bowl around. And we often will smudge in the mornings as well. In some other workshops, meditation workshops, which I hold up here at the house in Putney, we smudge at the start of the workshop. And every morning we go outside and stand in a circle, and the smudge bowl is passed around, and people smudge. And after that, we do the dance of life, this ritual of opening ourselves to the energies of the four directions, or actually of the 6 directions, the above and below as well. When I lead a vision quest, on the morning where people are going out to begin their solo, I create a circle of stones, a circle of rocks, probably about 12 feet in diameter. And um, all of the people come and they stand around the outside of that circle. And when I light up the smudge, I tell people to think about what they're leaving behind as they get ready to leave base camp and go out on their solo. And to also think about what they're heading towards, the space they're about to move into. And so as the smudge is lit and they're standing there thinking about that, I then invite whoever is first moved to step into the circle. And when that person steps into the circle, I step in with the smudge bowl, and using feathers, I wave the smoke over them, and I move all around them, smudging their front, their sides, above, below, above, before, behind, besides. And then when I've completed my songs and my prayers, I send them out and they head out for their solo. So that's a little bit about the practical part of smudging. But I also want to say a little bit about creating sacred space. You know, sacred space and ritual space can be seen as they're sort of synonymous. And in most cases, creating sacred space requires some form of ritual. Smudging is often used along with invocation and prayer. And to create sacred space, other powers and energies and intentions are invited into the space, into the field that we create. So sacred space could be contrasted to profane or mundane space. You know, in Western civilization, in the culture we live in which the material and daily world, labeled reality, has been pretty much divorced from the world of soul and spirit. Most interactions among people are focused around the values of secular society. You know, and these values center around economic concerns, money, work, careers, social concerns, family, romance, friendship, entertainment, and egocentric concerns of status, fame, power, or just plain maintenance. But when we create sacred space, it's a conscious invitation to enter some kind of arena that's more mysterious. It's an invitation to explore matters of healing and balance, matters of spirit and soul. In creating sacred space, we bring our attention, and energy flows where attention goes. We bring our attention, usually by a ritual act, like smudging, to things that are more profound. And the activities performed within the space created are meant to support and facilitate moving past the social and superficial to engage in those deeper concerns of our hearts and soul. So usually, to create sacred space, it requires we invite in energies larger than our ego. It usually involves some form of prayer or thanks or gratitude. And so one doesn't create sacred space merely by passing a smudge bowl around, merely by moving a smudge stick over someone. There's a very well-known men's organization which at the beginning of their weekends or even in meetings in between, the men all stand up and each man goes to another and waves the smudge stick over them and says, "Welcome to sacred space." Now, when I see that, there's part of me that says, "What sacred space?" No one has invoked any larger energies. No one has prayed to the great mystery. Nobody has asked their ancestors to come into the circle and attend, to guide them or help them to do something. So just merely waving a smudge stick over someone, to me, uh, doesn't create sacred space. If you walked into a sports bar and someone at the door just waved a smudge stick over you and said, "Welcome to sacred space," I really don't think what happens in that sports bar is has anything to do with sacred space. Maybe especially if you're watching the Jets, or waving a smudge bowl over the people at a Trump rally doesn't create sacred space. Sacred space has to be created by inviting in, by praying, prayers of gratitude, prayers asking for help. And by doing that, we bring a larger energy, larger than our ego and its concerns, into the space. And then it becomes sacred space. So I'm going to say a little prayer, do a little smudging for you here, just to give an example. So here goes. Great mystery, spirit that moves through all things. Thank you for this day. Thank you for life, for our lives, for one more chance to wake up on this beautiful earth, for one more chance to open our eyes, our ears, our senses, to open our minds, to open our hearts, to open our imaginations to what's within and all around us. Help us to notice, to remember where we are. Help us to look at this world and see both its beauty and its shadow. Help us to see the world in all of its aspects, the dark and the light, the creation and the destruction, the terror and the wonder. Help us to not deny or push away any parts of creation. But in accepting all that, may we also give our hearts to the wonder. And may we do whatever we can do to remove whatever obstacles we placed between ourselves and an awareness of your presence. Please help us. Please guide us. Please teach us. And may we, through our time here, through our prayers, become more in harmony and more open to the larger story that is living all around us and through the earth. And may we do whatever we need to do to give our gifts back to all we've been given. To give our gifts back for all we've been given. Aho. So, thanks for allowing me to share these words and to share that blessing. And I wish you a wonderful day and good medicine on your journey to live a larger and a greater dream, to grow into the person that you're meant to become. And may today you take whatever small step makes that happen.